Oh snap! That happened quick.
Yeah, bear man are coming in. Bear man. All right, my Oxford ACS people, please come on mute. Please. Let's. You'll get your chance to ask your questions.
Okay, we have to put it on mute. Oh, it's on mute. It's on. Sorry.
Wow.
Plenty people are turning out. Plenty people.
Jeez, definitely.
Zoom call fatigue don't exist when Ovie is about. Okay. All right. Cool. I think then, because obviously you're a busy man, you're on a tight schedule, we'll start. So thank you all for coming to this event, and thank you Ovie for coming along as well. We're here today to obviously support Ovie in his new book. Let me see the light drop. You Are Dope. Honestly, listen, us Oxford students, we're used to reading these long books. Long pieces of paper, like writing upon writing. But this was really good. This is really refreshing to actually have a look at. And it is quite relevant. But first of all, before we get into it, Ovie, how are you doing? How's lockdown or the second lockdown about to happen treating you? How's everything with you?
I'm good, man. I'm blessed. I'm healthy. Obviously with the lockdown coming, it's affected me in my profession with the basketball season. We've had a couple games postponed, which is a bit unfortunate, but then in the grander scheme of things, like there's clearly bigger issues going on right now. So yeah, I'm all right.
Okay, cool. And obviously you have a book out. So the first natural question is, why did you write it? Why is there a book now?
Why did I write it? Okay, yes. So first off, the idea initially, it wasn't intended for it to be a book, if that makes sense. I have I got like a little journal that I write down all my goals, everything that I want to do, achieve, lists. I'm big on writing lists. I think that's really helpful. And one of the things that I wrote down as a target was I wanted to create a product or service that was going to make people feel better about themselves. And whatever this was, it was going to reach thousands of people, hopefully. Now, initially, I wrote that down in this journal months before the idea of Love Island even came about. And then after Love Island, I feel like I got such a warm reception. It just sort of dawned on me and it clicked. Okay, well, how can I give something back of substance to people? Something that can help them, something that's not about me. So that's where the idea came from.
100%. I think with the book, it is something different. Like I've never really seen something like it before because it's part autobiography, but the way it works is that obviously you're trying to give back the lessons that you learned and actually trying to force the reader to try and go through those same lessons and actually think for themselves how they can improve upon themselves. And obviously I'm just reading from the cover now, let the power of positive energy into your life. So what does positivity mean to you, and how do you maintain such positivity? I mean, everyone sees you on the national stage, everyone knows you for being that guy who's positive, etc. So what does it mean to you?
It's like, it's perspective, it's control. If you're able to have perspective, that's always positive, and every situation you come across, it gives you power, it gives you control over your life. To lose control is exactly that. When you all of a sudden start behaving negatively, or you allow a situation to affect you in a negative way, you've allowed that situation to control you, be that a person, be that just something that's just happened naturally. You've allowed it to take control of you. And I feel like, we all want to be in control of our lives. Do you feel me? And I feel like by having a positive outlook on things and, always trying to find a lesson in every situation, it always helps you grow, one, but it always keeps you, just in that positive light, keeps you in control.
And also, like, the common theme throughout the book is the word dope. So I'm going to go a bit Oxford on you, going a bit philosophical. Like, how do you define this concept of dope?
This whole thing of dope. So dope is just a word that I naturally use a lot, but I feel like it's something that's very different for everyone. It basically means, for me, it's when someone's able to live their own life down their unique road, follow their internal compass. I feel like that's dope. Do you know what I mean? But it's something that's very difficult, but it's unique to all of us naturally. Do you feel me?
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, because I think as well with the book, something that's unique is how you're basically storytelling, right? and storytelling. Obviously, all stories have morals at the end of the day. And I'm going to show you guys a picture of the book, Let the Light Set. Obviously, it's very nicely formatted. And this quote actually stood out to me. So I'm going to read it back, and maybe you can kind of explain what you meant behind it. Because in a weird, not a weird way, but it's quite poetic. It says, "We rationalize behavior which deep down we know is completely wrong." So if you could remember from the book when you wrote it about, being in secondary school, that type of stuff, could you explain the story behind it?
It's basically, the idea around it is just what we're all willing to do to fit in. Do you know what I mean? And by fitting in, there's some things that don't really, really agree with us deep down. But in order to not be seen as sort of the odd one out or to seem awkward amongst our peers, a lot of the time we'll try and make it make sense in our minds. You know what I'm saying? So, in the book, I talked about a time when I was in a secondary school and I ended up getting into a little bit of trouble, almost got kicked out for stealing, long story short. And, it was something that it wasn't me. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't me. It wasn't something that, I felt like was right. But, my peers, the group that I was rolling with at the time, it was something that was just seen as, it was just shit that we were doing. I'm sure all of you are familiar with people who get caught up in situations where, they know they're not supposed to be there. My whole thing was basketball. And I almost threw all of that down the drain just by trying to fit in, by trying to be one of the guys, one of the men. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's not me. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing, right? The idea of being like one of the mandem. So, for example, like I was saying before to you, I've grown up in North London. I went to like an all-boys school, state comp. So this idea of like masculinity, or like, I guess, toxic masculinity was very prevalent throughout secondary education. So when you write the book, what is your idea of masculinity then, going into the book? And also like on the national stage as well, I think one of the reasons why people fell in love with you during Love Island, etc., is because everyone's MCM, of course, all the ladies here, etc. But yeah, just the idea of being like a positive role model for like young males.
It's just, I feel like males, especially now in this time, and it's not something that men only struggle with. There's certain things about image that females struggle with also, but on the male side of things, this toxic masculinity is only giving men access to half of who they are. Do you know what I'm saying? There's a whole emotional side, there's a whole half of knowledge that we put up barriers towards, because it's just like, okay, well, we're not supposed to subscribe to that. We're not supposed to let those feelings show. Well, by not communicating certain feelings, you're not able to gain perspective from those around you. And different perspective is basically another way of learning. That's how you can take information on just from your peers. But that's just a whole side of us as males that a lot of the time we just totally neglect. And once you become out of touch with that, now it becomes very difficult for you to communicate emotions now, even in relationships. And it gets really deep. It gets really, really deep. But, we're the ones who end up losing up.
100%. Yeah, and I think I also saw another theme, a kind of undercurrent, which, like you said before, the idea of like kind of fitting in. And you do talk about having a sort of culture clash between obviously your Nigerian upbringing and also just growing up in London. Could you expand on that a bit more and just kind of explain that idea as well?
Yeah, I feel like this is something that a lot of diaspora can struggle with at times. Just from having had the privilege to have grown up in London, then moved to the States, then moved to Greece, then to Spain, to just move around a bit, I've really seen the benefit of being able to take from all of these different cultures. Do you know what I'm saying? Because there's things naturally that you would do in the Spanish culture, for example, that in a Nigerian household, like, excuse my language, but that shit just won't fly. Do you feel me? But ultimately, if you're only able to see life through the lens of your own culture, now, you're shutting your eyes off to lessons that you can learn from so many different other people. Do you feel me? There's things that every country, every nation, every culture has done very well, that I feel like if we can just pick what works for us personally as an individual, then we'll be far better off in life, rather than just saying, okay, well, I'm from this background, so I must subscribe to everything that's within this box here. You know, this is all I can be. Well, no, that's just not right, because ultimately no one has come before you that was you. You can be fooled into thinking that, oh, well, you're just another Nigerian, or you're just another, you know, from wherever. But well, no, none of those people who are giving you advice are you. Your DNA makeup is the first to ever touch the planet. Do you feel me? But we get conned into believing like, oh no, well, you know, we just have to do it because this is how we do it. Well, why? Question.
Yeah, no, I think again, you're touching on quite a significant like just theme just in life, really, especially in the era of like social media. The idea of like, you know, having to fit in public perception, you know, having to like subscribe to certain ideals and the way you act. So on the topic of social media, that's obviously something you do write about in the book. How do you sort of maintain your positivity through it? I mean, obviously being in like the public eye is obviously way harder. And even on the small scale for like, you know, just general individuals, people like, you know, worry about likes, comments, engagement, etc. So how do you interact with social media, and how do you just maintain a positive mindset throughout it? Especially, I don't know if it's possible the Ovie Soko ever gets hate. I don't know, but yeah, how do you deal with it?
I don't read too much into that shit. Like it's not real. It's not
Yeah.
real. Do you know what I'm saying? It's social media is what people want to show you. Everyone will dress themselves up. They'll put 5 filters on. They'll fish it through 10 apps, and then they'll post it. Well, that's just not reality, is it? Like, you know, I try and be as transparent as I can to show, like, man, I'm far from perfect. Whoever you see on social media that looks perfect, it's a lie. It's a lie from hell. I'm telling you. I promise. Do you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we all have good days. We all have bad days. But it's just like when you go out, you know, if you go out to a party or whatever, you want to put your best foot forward. You get fresh. That's not you when you wake up in the morning. But if someone's just posting that party version of themselves on every single Instagram photo, like you're being conned into thinking, well, yeah, that's not the reality. That's not the reality of it. So me personally, you know, I'm very grateful for positive comments and nice stuff people say, but I take it with a grain of salt, man. Like it's nice, but you know, it's more important what you think about yourself. Put it that way.
100%. And also, like, you do talk about some of like the hardships you face, but also you know, overcoming like big obstacles and just pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, really. So the first one obviously is your basketball career. How was that, just moving out to the US, just being a young 16-year-old? How was that journey, and what did you learn from it?
Well, initially that shit was exciting. it's America, do you feel me?
Yeah, words.
But also it was definitely going outside of my comfort zone. It was a new environment, you know, didn't know anyone, family was all over here. But I felt like that's when I really started to take off. That's when I really started to grow, you know, as far as basketball, as far as really taking on life lessons. You know, I'm a big believer on being able to learn the best lessons from life. Do you know what I'm saying? You could read books, which is great. You could, you know, you can look into other people's situations, which is always good. All this stuff is helpful, but your life experience will always teach you the best lessons. So once I stepped out there and I sort of just started to take off and really just started to just be myself, I just felt like I started winning, really. And you know, I've been blessed, so.
100%. And obviously, like, the next biggest obstacle that you did was obviously Love Island, but obviously transitioning out of that, how was that for you, and what kind of like lessons did you learn? Because obviously, like, you know, Love Island, obviously some stars in the past, like they've gone through some bad stuff. So how have you maintained the positivity as well on top of that coming out of Love Island?
I just enjoyed the experience. You feel me? When I went into Love Island, I genuinely didn't know how big it was in England. Do you feel like I knew what it was? But because I was only ever around in England in the summertime, and that's when Love Island's on, but I was only there for the summers. So a lot of the time I just spend my time with my friends, catching up with people, going on holiday. So I was never just sitting down watching TV. But when I came out, yeah, it was a bit mad. To this day, like I still don't. It's
Surreal.
Yeah, it's wild to me. I just
Yeah.
feel like someone had cameras up in my house, and I just did shit that we all do, and then all of a sudden I came outside, and everyone's Ovie this and that. But yeah, man, I just enjoy the situation for what it is, take it for what it is. But I stay to myself. I stick to myself. I still do the same shit I was doing before. Like, I'm not one of these people who's come out and then all of a sudden my whole life has changed, and now every week I'm going to eat in 10-star restaurants. Well, no, I didn't do that before. Like, so why would I do it now? Do you feel me?
Yeah, man. Word. So then, if you could really just kind of sum up some crucial steps towards this like concept or like overall concept of like dopeness, what would they be then?
I'll give you 3 steps. First step, just making sure you clean up the energy around you. And that just means make sure you watch out for who you're being friends with. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know, everyone here don't have to be Christian, but a big thing is, I think somewhere it said something about show me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. Do you feel me?
Yeah.
So that's just a thing where if there's negative people around you, it'll be very, very easy to become cynical and negative. But then the same way, if there's a lot of positive people around you and you make sure that you're keeping positive energy around you, it'll be easier for you to see the brighter side. You know what I'm saying? Seeing the cup as, half full. Second of all, I would say take a break from social media. I feel like, it's easier, you hear it everywhere, but I'm telling you because, I'm in a situation where it's just magnified. So all of you go through the same shit on social media that I go through, but it's just on a larger scale. And us as humans, we're not supposed to have access to that much information. The amount of traumatizing stuff that you see on Instagram, the amount of just stuff that you just don't, the energy that you just don't need to be affecting you. Like, if you take a break from it, you'll see the difference in your mood, you'll see the difference in your perspective. But if the first thing you're doing when you wake up in the morning is reading about, horrific things that are happening over there, or she said this about him, or it's just starting off your morning in a negative tone, and then that's setting the tone for the rest of your day. And then third and foremost, make sure you understand the power of spending quality time with yourself. I feel like we like to hold other people to more accountability about how they treat us than we do ourselves. And that's just some bullshit, really. If someone told you that you're in a couple with, oh yeah, I love you, but they never spent no alone time with you, would you believe them? But yet you don't want to spend alone time with yourself. So how can you love yourself? Did you get it?
100%.
So, yeah.
No, that's some real bars. Now I think, because obviously we're approaching sort of the end of it, because I know Ovie, you're very busy. We are going to open it up to let some of the ACS members come off mute and speak. So yes, this is your chance to speak to Ovie. So the way it's going to work is that you can do reactions. So if you could put up the little hand function or something like that. Can you see it? Yep. Sky. All right, here's the first one. If you don't have it, I can see Deborah, you want to say something, so I'll go to you after Deborah. And cool. So Sky, let me unmute.
Hey Ovie.
Yo.
So I guess I just wanted to ask, because it seemed like you're talking a lot about like authenticity and like knowing yourself and that kind of thing. And I was just wondering, like, with like obviously going on Love Island and like blowing up in like a mad major stage, did you ever feel like being on the show and then kind of like the follow-up after, so that was like through like, I don't know, like pressure or just like being in a new situation, that was like more of like a pressure to like kind of like lose sight of yourself or that kind of thing? And did you like ever feel like you were kind of going in that direction? And if so, what kind of like helped you like stay back on track and like stay focused on like who you were and that kind of thing?
I definitely feel like once you enter that kind of world, the industry, call it, be that music, be that, reality or whatever, it's all sort of one. But there's a lot of risks to get caught up with different crowds, with people who you won't normally hang around with. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, all of a sudden, people necessarily might want to be your friend or seem like they want to be your friend. And for me, what's helped me was just the fact that Like I've never been one to just try and latch onto people for any reason other than I really get along with them and I feel like they're a dope person. So I just stuck to my same circle. I kept my circle small and tight, and it still is. I hang around with the same people I used to hang around with. And I feel like that was just something that helped keep me sane to a certain degree. But yeah, it just helped me stay true to who I was, because I knew like these weren't people who were just there for the idea of who they think I am or what they think I might be like. Like they genuinely know me, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, very welcome.
Yeah, Deborah, do you want to ask something?
Hi, I wanted to ask, you spoke about how, you know, don't want to fit into like a box, being like from your Nigerian background as well. How did your parents deal with like you moving to America at 16, or like how did you deal with like their reaction to it? Because I know a lot of Nigerian parents, it's like law and medicine and like that's it.
Oh yeah, facts.
How did you deal with that? And by the way, it's Charlotte's birthday today. Hi.
Happy birthday, Charlotte.
Thank you so much.
Very, very welcome. Yeah, well, those of you that are from Nigerian backgrounds, you know what it is. Like, my mum wasn't on it. Let me just tell you from the beginning, mum was not on it. But I'm lucky, you know, I'm blessed. My dad's an artist. That's what he loves to do. But it wasn't something that he really pursued like he should have. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe because he grew up in Nigeria and he grew up in a culture where, okay, they didn't see many people blow doing that. And in my mum's mind, she's like, oh, you should read your book or do computers or do something that, you know what I'm saying? Anything that she thinks can make money. Because ultimately they're thinking, okay, how are you going to make a living? How are you going to, but it was my dad that sort of convinced them. I was like, yo, look, you never know what could happen with it. You never know what could happen with it. Do you feel me? And thank God she sort of listened to him, because it's opened up, you know, so many doors for me. So yeah.
Lovely stuff. And Tolu, do you want to ask a question?
Hi, Ovie. Hope you're doing well. Just had a quick question for you in regards to like your time on Love Island. Obviously, It's kind of going back. The support that Islanders have received after the show hasn't been ideal. When you were on the show and after the show, what support did you receive, or how did you end up coping with like the extra attention or like all the stuff that happened after the show? Like, what do you do to keep yourself sort of sane and happy?
They definitely have like support in place, but you know, I just chose to stick to what I knew. Do you know what I'm saying? As far as my friends and my family, like I said, I genuinely don't. You won't see me out next week with a new group of friends. Like it's just not how I roll. You know what I'm saying? Being an athlete beforehand, it's not how I've ever been. You know what I'm saying? I've always stuck to the same circle because you're familiar with those people. They know you and you know them. When you start letting too many new faces come around you, you don't know how they're affecting you always. You know what I'm saying? You don't know the decisions that they're making around you. And sometimes some of the decisions that are made close to you will ultimately then have an effect on you. Do you feel me? So yeah, man, I just stuck to my circle. I do meditation, I pray. Do you know what I'm saying? These are all things that just help me stay even keel.
I don't want to mispronounce the name and sound like a substitute teacher, but Ginika. Okay, said it first time. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hi, Ovie. My friend Annie's in here too. She loves you as well. But we just wanted to know, like, what is your ultimate goal in life? Like, what's the next big thing you want to do?
My ultimate goal. I would say it's just to feel fulfilled, man, and that comes with being happy. That comes with genuinely following the path that my internal compass, if you want to call it that, my intuition is genuinely following that, because I know the fulfillment that's at the end of that road. Do you know what I'm saying? And a lot of the time, at first, it won't be easy in a lot of cases, because it'll be very difficult to say, okay, I genuinely feel like I should go into acting, if you just for namesake, and everyone around you is looking at you like you're mad. But if it's something that you genuinely feel like you have a strength for and you have a genuine passion for, and you're willing to take the bumps and the hits, you'll stick it. You'll stay with it until something shakes. And those wins in life are always much more gratifying than you going down a road that your parents said, oh, you should go and study this because it's the safe bet. Because at the end of the day, you'll get to the top of that mountain of that safe bet. You'll become everything that they said you should become to become secure, and then you'll wonder why you're still not happy, and you'll wonder why something still's missing. Do you know what I'm saying? So just following my heart and at every turn in my life. That's my goal day to day.
Cool. To me, yep. I saw you had a hand up.
Hey, congrats on your book. And I just wanted to ask what advice you'd give to your younger self right now.
Believe in yourself, 100%. Just believe in yourself, because there was times that I feel like I didn't always find it easy sort of being an oddball out, do you know what I'm saying? Or being, or standing out. I didn't always want to stand out. Even till this very day, at times, like, I don't necessarily like being the center of attention and stuff like that. But sometimes, if that's who you've been called to be, if you've been called to be someone that's supposed to stand out in whatever field or whatever area, don't be afraid to shine. Do you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of the time, at first, people around you, it's very intimidating when they see someone shining, because it reminds them of what they should be following. It reminds them of the light or whatever that's inside of them kind of deal. Do you feel me? So that would be my biggest advice, man. Don't be afraid to shine. Don't be afraid to stand out from your group of friends, from the crowd, from whoever.
Cool. I think we could take one more question from the audience.
Yeah,
if not, I do have a question. Obviously, react. I'm looking. I'm not seeing anyone react. But obviously, you know, second lockdown's coming. So, Ovie, what are your tips for staying positive during this time? Because obviously, you know, it can be mentally draining and emotionally tough.
Yeah, don't just spend all your whole day on your phone. I know it's very tempting, very hard. But yeah, try and spend some alone time, but make sure you still have structure to your days. Because I feel like the first thing that happened to me when the first lockdown came about was all of a sudden there was no more structure. I was just waking up when I wanted, sleep when I want to, watch TV until 2 a.m, then wake. You know, there was no real structure, and then all of a sudden your days just become jumbled into one, and then you get into a sort of funny place, like a funk. So make sure you're still structuring out your days and making sure you're still completing tasks. You know, because it keeps your mind in a place where, okay, you're still fulfilling purposes. You're living with a purpose. You're not just out here just, you know, just going with the wind shaft anyway.
Yeah, no. I'll just say that's very relatable. But I won't get into that again. But obviously, I think that was all the questions that we had from the audience as well. So thank you, Ovie, for coming along and actually just giving us some wisdom. You know, much wiser than any Oxford tutor I've listened to.
Oh no, get out here! I don't even want to hear all of that. All the smart. I feel like all the smartest people on the planet go to Oxford and Cambridge. Like, I never in a million years in my mind would have thought I would have been speaking to anyone at Oxford. Like, it's actually pretty it's very humbling to talk to you guys, man. I feel like you guys are the next ones to change the world and do all of that stuff, man. Do the important stuff. So.
We definitely really appreciate that. Which is why when this lockdown's over, you got to come through to Oxford and have a proper formal. I know, like I said before in private, I know Cambridge showed you a nice time. But
No, pull up 100, man, 100.
Because we'd love to have you. But thank you everyone for coming along. Like, I'll just remind you, we're giving away 3 signed copies of this book to people on here randomly. So yeah, that's it. Thank you all for coming along. Hope everyone's doing well and obviously keeping positive and staying dope. But you are free to leave. You're free to go and do whatever throughout the day. So thank you guys. Appreciate it.